Hi, I'm Lin.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lin and Leo.
And welcome to our cooling down routine. So I know a lot of you, especially if you're in the UK, have experienced some really beautiful warm weather, and this routine is a really nice forward cooling practice.
It's also very good for calming the nerves, these supported forward bends. So, if you're feeling a bit stressed, this is quite a nice practice to do. But you are going to need a bit of equipment for this. So what we've got here is a yoga chair. You can use any kind of chair. A couple of bricks, yoga bricks, a blanket, 3 foam pads, which are lurking behind here, and a bolster. So you can use other household equipment to replace those. You can use blankets and so on. But, excuse that, that's the ambulance. We are on a hospital run. For those of you who watch us regularly know that we do get that coming up in the background from time to time. So yeah, if you've got any household equipment, you can usually replace that with folded towels and that sort of thing.
Yes, so we're going to make a start. You also will need to have a little bit of wall space, because our first pose is going to be a really nice supported Uttanasana. So you can see here Leo is going to take her feet quite wide in this position, and we're going to show with chair, because quite often when you come into Uttanasana and you're fairly new to yoga, then it's quite challenging on the hamstrings and the legs, and we don't want that to take over the quietness of the pose. So you can extend onto a chair, onto the top of the chair, onto the seat of the chair, but as long as you're keeping that symmetry. So Leo did mention about being good for the nerves. The nerves are affected by the symmetry and the alignment of the body in a good way. So if you can keep that symmetry in the spine, that really nice length in the spine, then of course you're going to open the body in a better way. So either the chair, or we're going to show you with the bricks now. So Leo's going to show with 2 bricks. Now, it may look really simple and easy to take your head down to these bricks, but you have to really lift up through the front body to extend. And of course, as we always talk about these legs, you've got to see that that's your real focus. Those front thighs are really that important factor to lift up to come into your forward bend. So sharpen the outer foot bones. You can see here Leo's holding on to the outer ankles. So try not to pull and push. There is also another position you can use with the bricks. You can use one brick on top of the others, so it's like stacking bricks. We sometimes have students use that slightly higher support in the centre. So Leo's just going to show you here. So just relaxing onto the brick. So what we would recommend for you to practice this quiet forward bend and to stay in this pose. If you've got a timer, that's really useful. You can perhaps use your phone, or if you've got a little timer, you can tap into 2 or 3 minutes coming into this position, and just gradually quieten the mind, the nerves, but keep those legs lifted. Okay, and then releasing and coming up. Okay, so you're going to need to have your bolster and your blanket now for Adho Mukha Svanasana, dog head down. Now, what's really important about this practice with the bolster, quite often people will do a little bit of a dive to actually get their head down onto the bolster.
Do you want me to show that?
Yes, please. Okay, so you can see diving down. Yeah. So this is not the correct action. So if you find that the bolster is far too low for you, then you can build up with a foam pad or 2, so that you can have a little bit more support underneath your head. So when you're in this position. That's it. So we're really trying to work with traction. So with the bolster and the blanket, you have to see that the arms are working really strongly. And also, even though your head is supported, that little touch of the head will give you a little message to push back into the back body. So coming up into Adho Mukha Svanasana and resting the head. So reaching through the palms, so keeping that connection with the floor, the palms, the arms, everything working strongly. The thighs moving back really strongly. I'm going to just give Leo a little bit of an adjustment here to lift this area. So you can also use studio ropes if you have them handy, and we will do a session on that in the near future. We have in the studio, although you don't see it here, we do have a wall full of slings and ropes to help move the body. Okay, and then we're going to just release down into Adho Mukha Virasana. So if you can see here that Leo is releasing down and releasing her head to the bolster. Now, again, for Adho Mukha Svanasana, really try to stay in that pose. If you can keep and maintain the strength in the pose, then be in it for 2 to 3 minutes easily. So just resting and breathing in Adho Mukha Virasana. So we're coming into a Malasana action now. So you're going to need to have 3 foam pads. And a brick. So you're going to sit with your legs stretched out in front of you and the brick nearby. And you can see Leo's just pulling butterflesh away so that lengthens back the hamstrings. Now, with Malasana, Garland Pose, this is quite a challenging pose if you've got tight leg muscles. So, and also to launch, as we're going to in a moment, that could be difficult too. So you can sit a little bit higher to get a little bit more lift to launch, and you'll just see how we're going to do this now. So Leo's going to take the heels onto the support, and then we're going to launch up off of the support in this position. And now we're going to extend forward. So the thighs come a little apart, and then you reach with the arms and palms and just be in this position. You can see that Leo's got the brick handy here. So we're going to lengthen with the tailbone down and then rest the head. So maybe that you need to turn the brick up a little bit higher. So when you're in this position, just be sure that you're rolling in with those thighs and you're grounding down with the tailbone. You're lifting up through the center of the front body and extending the arms forward, and then keeping quiet with the head. And just be in this pose for 30 to 60 seconds. If you can handle a little bit more, then do so. And then we're going to come out of the pose. And straighten the legs into Dandasana, and then take your hands down beside you and lifting up. Okay, so we're going to come for Upavistha Konasana now. So you're going to need to have support, a bolster, if you're quite flexible, a bolster and a blanket, or you can use the chair to rest too. So taking the legs nice and wide. I'm going to just show you with the chair, firstly. So I'll be in your way here, okay? Now push me out the way. Alright, so extend it. Now, there's a couple of things that you have to be aware of, and that is, if you sit and you find that you're dropping into the seated position, then you're going to need to sit on something a little bit higher. So Leo hasn't got anything underneath the seat here. But you know, if you do find it quite a struggle, then sit on a foam pad or
Do you
two.
want me to show?
I think we'll be all right on that. And ground down into the legs, extend into the heels, and then extend onto the chair. So extending the arms onto the chair, and then see gradually you come forward and release towards the chair seat. Okay, so maybe that is a little bit of a mission for you to practice. Now, if you have a little bit more flexibility, then using your bolster and your blanket and extending forward. So see that you extend forward and rest the forehead. So you can see that we just rest the forehead onto the blanket so that it frees the nasal passage and you can breathe. So if you do have good flexibility, then you can rest the head onto the bolster. You can also use the bolster slightly differently. I'm going to show you this way, which is a little bit further in and then resting forward. So it may be that you need to have a little bit more support underneath the bolster, maybe 2 bolsters if you have them, or a couple of foam pads, and just rest in this position. So again, see that you start to rest in the pose. So if you're battling in this position, then just see if you can relax a little into it. So stay in this position for 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to come up out of the pose now. We're going to come for Sukhasana. So crossing the legs, coming into Sukhasana and resting either onto a brick or the chair. So if you have a look here, you can extend to the chair. You can see that the symmetry of the back is so important. So it's not about you know, creating a bad position in your back. And again, as we were saying, you know, you're cooling down. You don't want to create more tension in your back. So see that you are getting this symmetry in your seated position. If you find this difficult and the knees are going higher than the hips, then you're going to need to sit on quite a height and rest the forehead. So it's a soft inhale and a soft exhale. And again, if you've got a timer or you can use your phone, then another 3 minutes each side for this, or build up to that timing. It's really nice, isn't it?
It's lovely.
So you might be able to go a little bit further. You can use your bricks, but you know, the main thing is that you don't lose the integrity in the symmetry. The symmetry needs to be there. So we're going to change our leg fold now, but if you're following the sequence in and you want to stay in for a little bit longer, then do so. Sometimes when we're doing these slightly more supported sequences, it's good to write down the sequence, because then you can actually have it with you and practice it within your own time. So rest in the head. So just whilst you're in this pose, I forgot to mention Upavistha Konasana, our previous pose. We have just put out a tutorial on Upavistha Konasana, so those of you who can work in the classical way or looking at different ways of working, then we already have Upavistha Konasana out in our directory. So just letting the breath become smooth and even and rest in the head. So if you're on the chair or if your head is rested onto a brick, then just see that with each breath, the body becomes really soft, release in. So without battling with all those tense fibers, see if you can breathe into the pose. And then we're going to release out of this now. That's very nice, isn't it? We're coming now for Supta Konasana. So I've got the bolster. I'm going to come into a really lovely practice where we take the soles of the feet onto the bolster. So be mindful as you come into this pose, you want to really lengthen that tailbone as you come into it. So as you can see, Leo's placing her feet onto the bolster and then just lifting and bringing herself towards the bolster itself. It's a really nice way of going into this pose, and also you can get all of those lower back fibers really nice and broad and open. And then coming into the action. Now if you find that your legs, if you've got really stiff hips, and that's quite normal, and that's a good reason why you would practice yoga if your hips are like this, and you just take the feet a little bit further so that you get more of the thigh supported. So do try both methods and see how you get on with that. But if you're quite agile and mobile, then you want to keep your feet onto the support, onto the bolster. So just see that you are relaxing into this pose. It's a really nice way of practicing, passive way to open the hips, and also to now go inside to observe the breath. So as you quieten the facial features, the jawline, the mouth, just see that you observe also the inhalation and the exhalation. And just be aware of the ribs and how they expand and open. So all those little muscles between the ribs, you have to see that they get a little bit energized with your breath. So don't go mad with your breath, it's really natural. You're just slowly taking it from the surface to a slightly deeper level. And from here, we're going to straighten the legs for our Shavasana. So if you're in this pose and you want to stay in it for a little bit longer, then please do. Those of you who are keeping up with the video, then straighten those legs over the support. So I'll have to move a little bit out of the way here. So when you come for your Shavasana, it's really important that the backs of the thighs are supported onto the bolster itself. And now release. So when you come for your relaxation, your Shavasana, it's really a form of meditative practice where you start to let go of everything. Just scan the body. Be aware of the shoulders, the back of the shoulders, the back of the neck, and just let those areas completely dissolve into the floor side. Release around your ribs. Release the shoulders, the outer shoulders, and the upper arms. Just be mindful exactly how much you're holding on. And it's almost that you sigh into those areas. So being aware that the palms are facing up towards the ceiling, and the fingers are just slightly coiling. Softening the abdomen. And just let the breath take you deeper and deeper within. We're going to leave you in your Shavasana now. If you've enjoyed the video, do subscribe to our channel. Namaste.